Today's episode of the GoldCast is sponsored by the fact that this is the 100th episode. How exciting. Really excited. We got a couple surprises, couple things lined up for you guys. But this is officially the 100th episode of the GoldCast. Now, before we get started, Raymond, why don't you let them know where can they find us?
You can like us at facebook.com/the GoldCast. You can also follow us on Twitter at the GoldCast_, and you can also follow us on Instagram at the GoldCast. And most importantly, you can subscribe to us and follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud, and YouTube, and iTunes, and everything else. Like, subscribe, comment. We'd like to hear your feedback.
All right. So here we go. We're about to get started. We're going to start. It's the 100th episode, so we're going to do things a little bit different, and we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of the GoldCast and how this came about, and then we're going to get into our topics. Of course, NFL free agency. 49ers made some big moves. We're going to go over to Raider Town for a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about Gruden, and then we're going to finish up with the Warriors because this is turning out to be a rough march into the playoffs. But first, the GoldCast intro. Let's get busy.
San Francisco, are you ready? This is the GoldCast.
Boom! Welcome to another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis I, baby.
Boom! And our esteemed co-host,
that's right here, Old Man Davis in the building, back again like I never left ever.
Oh, he's back. Old Man Davis in for the 100th episode.
In full effect.
In full effect. He is back. We have the original crew all together. 100th episode of the GoldCast. And so, first of all, we want to thank all of our listeners and supporters. The amount of you guys has grown. I remember there was a time when there was only like 25 people, mostly consisting of our close friends, who were listening to a very different version of the GoldCast. And now there are literally thousands of you, and it's pretty amazing. And we really can't thank you enough for all the support everyone shows, all the comments, especially on the YouTube page. The YouTube comment page is always just jumping. And before we get started with this episode, we kind of wanted to pull the curtain back a little bit and talk a little bit about the evolution of how we even started the GoldCast. You know, originally the GoldCast was a concept idea that I had been talking about with Old Man Davis here. Originally, we were trying to think of a podcast we wanted to do, and it started with us. I wanted to do a podcast that talked about the sports teams that I never get to hear enough of, and I wanted to hear about the Bay Area teams, primarily the 49ers, the Golden State Warriors, and San Francisco Giants. I was like, and the Raiders, of course, and the Raiders, Old Man Davis. So we're going to talk about them Raiders in a second here. But yeah, basically, we wanted to create something that reflected the teams that we loved. You know, always the national podcasts that are out there, they'll touch on our teams if our teams are hot. But if our teams aren't hot, then they have no interest in them. But yet, you know, teams like the Los Angeles Lakers or the Dallas Cowboys, no matter how bad they are, every Boston team, no matter how bad they are, no matter how good they are, they always get the front row treatment. And so we wanted to kind of give that same exact thing there. And that's how the evolution came. Raymond, you were brought on from the very beginning as well, right? You've been here since day one.
That's right.
Yeah, the show went through a lot of evolutions. We recorded like 10 episodes no one's ever going to hear. And then when we felt we finally had a format that we were pretty comfortable with, we then moved on, and we were on SoundCloud, originally just SoundCloud. That's all we were on. And then we were there for a while, and then we made the big jump to iTunes, and then we added YouTube. And that is pretty much how you see us now. We've bringing on rival guests, but our original greatest rival host, Old Man Davis, is back for the 100th episode. Old Man Davis, can you believe it? 100 episodes ago, we started this thing together in a tiny little room recording the GoldCast.
Yeah, I just wanted to make, for the record of this podcast, clear. I had this idea of making a Raiders cast, a Silver cast, and I thought the only way that I was going to be able to make it happen was if I had a 49er fan work under me, and he would learn the trade with his family member brother Ray, and they would over time develop this Raider cast into a gold cast, because after silver comes gold, and then you have what you have today
So essentially, it's like
is a well-branded, recognized
just the
podcast for all sports fans related about Bay Area teams. It's really my evolution,
Exactly.
my creation.
That's true. You get
the
full
Gold
credit.
Cast is really the story of Old Man Davis. 100% full credit goes to Old Man Davis. Raymond, how do you feel? 100 episodes. I mean, can you even comprehend that we've actually done 100
Feels
of
like
these?
300, to be honest. I mean, almost every Sunday.
Feels like 300.
Almost every Sunday is only 52 in a year. So I know we take several off, during holidays and sometimes in the summer times but yeah, it is crazy. And it's actually pretty cool at the fan base that we've got now, how it's grown, and some of them are on Facebook, some of them are on Twitter, some of them are on the other platforms like iTunes. There's a lot of them on the iTunes, most of them. And then there's a huge swelling that's begun this year through YouTube. It's just been awesome to watch, and awesome to be a part of. So very humbling.
I agree. Absolutely. Very, very humbling. So anyways, we just kind of wanted to, it's the 100th episode, so we thought we'd talk a little bit about how we got here. We're just fans. We've always said this from the beginning. We're just fans. We're just guys that really like our sports teams, and we just wanted to provide an outlet and a podcast that reflected our teams. And I think that we've done that, and the fact that we're still here after 100 episodes is pretty amazing. And thank you so much to everyone who supports us, and we plan on keep going. So keep commenting, keep liking, subscribing, keep sharing. Let's move on, and I look forward to the 200th episode of the GoldCast in 150 years. So, gentlemen, here we go. Let's talk NFL free agency. It has been bananas. And the two teams that have been at the forefront of even most of the national podcasts is the arm race happening in the NFC West between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. Raymond, can you break down everyone we picked up in free agency?
Well, if we're being accurate, we actually have to start back to the very, very beginning with the biggest signing, which was the very first signing, which was, of course, Jimmy Garoppolo. And that was a long-term deal securing our franchise quarterback for the foreseeable future. The next big signing was, of course, Richard Sherman, which happened within 24 hours of his release, roughly. And, who's arguably been one of the best cornerbacks in football over the course of the last 5 years. So I know he's coming off of a hard injury, but if he returns to even 75, 80% of his former self, it'll still be a huge upgrade over anything we had last year in the secondary. So it's promising, to say the least. And then we got a steal with, or not a steal, but we upgraded Weston Richburg. So I thought we were going to have depth at the guard and center position, but Daniel Kilgore ended up being released. And once I saw Richburg's salary, his contract, then I was not as surprised at Daniel Kilgore's release, just because you don't pay someone that kind of money to then compete for the starting position, where at first I thought that would be the case, since they already gave Kilgore an extension prior to that signing. So that was a huge upgrade at center. And then, of course, last is Jerick McKinnon from the Minnesota Vikings, which is a huge, much, much better at his position than Carlos Hyde. Some might argue differently, but he's younger. He's a top 10 pass. He's a top 10 in pass protection, which is something that Carlos Hyde could not do very well. He had the most drops of all running backs, all running backs who were eligible for receiving. He had the most drops out of all of them. So Hyde struggled in two of the most important jobs of a running back. A complete back, which is, you want a complete back, look no further than Frank Gore. You got to be able to catch, you got to be able to block, and you've also got to be able to run. Carlos Hyde seems to be pretty good at running and not so good at the other two. So not going to get very far with that. And the interesting thing too, Hyde played his first full season this past season without getting injury, and he played 3 more games than he did last year and still couldn't amass more yardage than he did last year. So interesting. So overall, that's the class. Jimmy Garoppolo, Richard Sherman, Weston Richburg, Jerick McKinnon. A lot less than last season. Last season we had like 12 or something like that, more than double. So I think this year, because we've already kind of put some pieces in place, now it's a good thing that we're not signing as many players, because that means that positions are becoming more solidified. Now we're just filling the last remaining gaps.
I like it. I'm pretty excited. O-line has been a major concern of mine. I've said this many times. If Jimmy Garoppolo's grandmother goes in for a hug, I want someone from the O-line there to slap her hands down. Jimmy Garoppolo's going to be Bubble Boy for the next 10 years. He's not going to know. He's going to be like Rogue from the X-Men. Not a single piece of human contact. Nobody is allowed to touch Jimmy G for the rest of his life. That's where I stand on this. I swear to God, his grandmother needs to get tackled if she reaches for him. That's how serious
Jimmy
this
G
is.
can't even touch Jimmy G.
Jimmy G can't even touch Jimmy G. Can't even touch his own hand. If his hand goes in for the other hand, I want someone slapping that hand down. All the way down. Oh man, Davis, you guys, let's talk about this. Let's recap for a second here, old man Davis. I remember a team that looked like they were on the verge of going to the playoffs and possibly challenging the Patriots 2 seasons ago for the crown and the right to play in the Super Bowl. And then Derek Carr goes down, the team goes down, and then this year, everyone's excited about them again. Jack Del Rio gets rid of that offensive coordinator, then he gets rid of your defensive coordinator, and you guys end up with the exact same record as the San Francisco 49ers. What happened there, old man Davis?
The draft move. We're looking into 2018. New season, new coach. I prefer to live in the years 1976, 1980, and 1983, in which I was a part of a winning tradition of Super Bowl victories. However, you guys continue to want to just live into the future, which doesn't exist until it happens. 10 years with Jimmy G, trying to not have himself be touched by his own self, Jimmy G. Grandma can't even get in for a hug. Slap her across the face. Hey, back off, Jimmy. But what we're doing in Oakland, heading out into Las Vegas, we're doing something bigger and better than the 49ers can even get the mouthpiece wet on. All right? We're seeing Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. All you guys care about is a winning quarterback. You guys aren't even talking about Super Bowl. We're thinking Super Bowls. We're thinking Pro Bowls. We're thinking Punch Bowls. We're thinking all these kind of bowls that you just want to put your hand on it after the game's over. And what are you guys busy talking about? O-linemen, franchise quarterbacks. Get your head in the game. You're still stuck in red zone.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that for a second. So Gruden, now you got Mr. Gruden, and you talk about living in the past. Gruden said he wants to take this back to 1998, and that's your son there. Your son Mark said this was the biggest get. He'd been chasing this guy for years. He'd wanted him back. How do you feel about Mr. Gruden being back and wanted to take it back to 1998, even though it's 2018? That was 20 years ago.
A lot of good things that were happening in the late 90s. I'm just going to still stay there. I stand by what I did in trading for John Gruden for some cash and some draft picks. But overall, I think the 2018 Oakland Raiders is a Mark Davis owned team. And I think with that being said, I think my son has a real good head on his shoulders because, he comes from this cloth you're talking to. And what not better than to try to reimagine something that maybe I didn't see. Something for the commitment to excellence. And going all around
commitment to excellence.
32 teams checking out what the new schemes and new player development is going on within each team. Maybe he can try to bring that back over to the Oakland Raiders, silver and black.
All right, so why don't you do me a favor? Why don't we make an early prediction since we have you back on the show for one night tonight. I would like to hear a prediction. Where do you think your Raiders are going to be by the end of next season?
A winning record, far better than the red and gold.
Oh.
Just like good wine, this takes time. Need to let it breathe, have some team members be on the same page, be in a rhythm and sync, coaches, personnel, that sort of thing. Make sure that some contract extensions are being looked at so that over the course of the decade, we can retain that talent and keep on winning the Super Bowls that I didn't bother to share with you in answering your question just now. Okay? Super Bowls. That's what I think. What did you not think? You think we were going to sit at the bottom of the standings in the AFC West? Got to be out of your mind. What do I think about where the Niners are going to be? Dead last. The LA Rams are the LA Rams. Defense wins championships, and you guys don't have that yet.
Ooh, oh, Ray, what do you think about that?
I think the Raiders. It's hard to guess what the Raiders are going to do. I mean, I know that Gruden's been still involved in football. It's not like when Joe Gibbs came back. Joe Gibbs was like in another completely different sport, if you want to call NASCAR sport. That's where he was when he was gone. Whereas Gruden's been in football. He's been watching football. He's been studying football. He's been interviewing players. He's been, who knows what he's been doing beyond that. All we know is from what he's told us, he's been commentating on football. So, he still is very, very much attached to football. As to whether that can translate on the field after the absence he's had, that's kind of the big if with him. We know he's done it in the past and he's done it at the highest level possible. But can he recapture that after taking a really long break? And, even though he's been close to the league and he's watched it evolve and change into, something that was different from what he was used to when he was coaching, that's the big if. And I don't know if they're going to – I think they'll do better than Jack Del Rio because he's absolutely terrible. And I saw that from the very beginning. I thought he got lucky in the first year because he inherited a good roster and had a terrific offensive coordinator. And firing him was what was the beginning of the end for Jack Del Rio. Had he kept him around, it would have been completely fine.
Happy New Year's.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's there's a lot of ifs around Oakland right now. And it's just it's not like with the Niners where we kind of know where they're headed based on how they ended last year. So there's a lot more optimism surrounding that team. You can say that there's optimism based on what Gruden has done. However, what Gruden has done hasn't been for a very, very long time. So there's still a lot of can you still do it questions hanging in the air.
With this upcoming season, I would want you guys to think this. Chucky's back. Jack.
Yeah, that's true. Chucky is back. Jack. All right, well, we're going to find out, Old Man Davis, if you're right. Now, gentlemen, let's move over. We have a very depleted Warriors team that I feel like is pretty much probably on the verge of, I don't think they can catch first now. I think it's a kind of a foregone conclusion. We've got Kevin Durant out, Klay Thompson out, and Steph Curry out. And Steph Curry is the one that makes me the most worried because it's those ankles. Raymond, why don't we start with you? How do you feel about this? And this looks like it might be the hardest road back to the finals ever for not just Cleveland because they're struggling too, but the Warriors. We're totally not running at full throttle. Granted, around this time last year, Kevin Durant was out indefinitely for a certain amount of time too. But can they come back and can they win this thing?
I think they can still win it, but again, the Warriors are so good that the only thing that can beat the Warriors is the Warriors. And in this case, the only reason why the Rockets have first place is because of health. Had the Rockets gone to 3 straight finals, they would be in a similar situation. Look at Cleveland. Cleveland's had tremendous struggle. They've had so much struggle. I mean, it hasn't been injury related per se, but they've had so much struggle from going to 3 straight that they had to jettison, more than a third of their roster. So now they're just kind of an average playoff team. So, but in the Warriors' case, it's the injuries. These injuries, their timing is going to yield the first seed to the Houston Rockets. But again, is that going to be such a big deal? Not necessarily. The biggest concern is for the Warriors to get healthy at the right time. So if they were going to take any injuries, this would be the time to take it because they've already clinched a playoff spot. They've already clinched a playoff berth, so we know that they're going regardless. And outside of Houston, they will have home field advantage against other teams. So any seed that is below them, so the 3 and beyond, they're going to have home court advantage. So the only thing they're not going to have that with is the Houston Rockets, and they've destroyed the Rockets in every time they've faced them in the playoffs. And other than this year, they've still owned them for the last 5-6 years. So especially the last 3. So it's still not something that I would be totally concerned about. It depends if they succumb to injuries again after getting healthy, then I would start to worry. Curry needs to secure his ankles. Klay Thompson almost never gets injured. So when he comes back, he'll be back for a very long time. Kevin Durant is starting to see a little bit of injuries now because he's kind of in the twilight of his career, although still relatively young in basketball years. So not too concerning, really, even though he's in the latter half of his career, because he's still a dominant player, can still take over a game. And when he's healthy, he's absolutely money. So, and Draymond Green is still there. Draymond Green has always been super healthy. And the Warriors, they lost on Friday to the Sacramento Kings, who are a terrible team, but then they bounced right back against the Phoenix Suns on Saturday night. So, and then Klay Thompson slated to come back on the 20th. Curry's slated to come back on the 22nd. So you're going to have 2 of your 4 All-Stars, 2 of your 3 injured All-Stars back on court this coming week. And then Kevin Durant will be back, probably I'd guess like 2 weeks after that, or he'll be gone for the next 2 weeks. And then after that, he'll come back from his rib fracture. So we'll see it, but I'm not too worried. That I would be concerned if any of this lingers beyond the remainder of the season, because that's when you don't want this to happen.
I'm definitely very nervous. Old Man Davis, do you even watch basketball?
I do.
And that's all you have to say.
NBA slam dunk tournaments. YouTube videos of old games from the all the great decades, the 50s, 60s, 70s. I lost interest in the 80s and 90s. Just something about it didn't sit me well. Hey, but I was just thinking, with all these injuries taking place, I just would say from here on out, let's go back to what Coach Steve Kerr was doing, which was letting the players coach themselves. So if Stephen Curry feels like he can play, let him play with those ankles. Same with Kevin, and let Draymond just be Draymond. I think you guys will make the playoffs into a real show. Maybe, who knows? You might end up in the NBA Finals.
You never know. I am very nervous. I'm very nervous. I don't watch 1950s clips of basketball, Old Man Davis, so I only watch the modern stuff. And pretty nervous.
It's black and white. That's all you see. There's no color. All you see is just black and white. It's so simple.
It is very simple. Oh, old man Davis, it's so nice to have you back on again. I don't even know if I introduced. I guess now at the 26 minutes time, it's good we could introduce old man Davis. Old man Davis was part of our original GoldCast crew, and I don't know. You must have done. I don't know how many episodes. More than half. How many do you think you did with us?
I've done 100 episodes. You just haven't checked in with me.
He's been there.
You can't be gone because you never left us. Yeah.
You failed
Back the
to check me in. You failed to acknowledge me on the roster. I've been here the whole time. This is my show. You're only players. You got that?
This reminds me of it's Joe Pesci. You're only here because of me, Casino.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Old man Davis. Oh, we missed you. I am very nervous. I think this is going to be the hardest road yet. I am not confident. I am hoping and praying that they're going to be healthy and ready to go. But we have the Rockets just looking unstoppable, playing good defense. They have Chris Paul. I am with you. James Harden, he has yet to appear in a playoff series. They're still looking for him out there. There's been an APB on his postseason performance for 3 years now. So until he shows me that, I don't care. But he does have Chris Paul. Chris Paul is clutch. But Chris Paul's never played past, the second round? I don't think he's even played in the Western Conference Finals. So it's just nerve-wracking. This is going to be tight. And I don't know. I just have a bad feeling right now. I have a bad feeling, and I hope it goes away. And I hope that the Warriors are ready to go. As long as we're ready to go in April and all guns are firing and injuries are gone, good. But if these injuries persist or linger into April, we are in trouble. Straight up.
Why don't we just ask Kerr to suit up if Curry's not ready?
Go for that clutch three that saved Michael Jordan.
It always worked.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to find out. Anyways, looks like we're about to conclude another edition of the GoldCast, gentlemen. First, once again, we want to say thank you so much. 100 episodes. That's crazy. I never thought we'd get to 100 episodes. Like I said, I remember there used to be a time when there's only 20 people listening to us, and now there's thousands of you, and that's amazing. Don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe, especially YouTube. The YouTube comment page is always jumping. So if you listen to us on iTunes, then by all means, hop onto YouTube and join the comment section there. Because if you heard it, you don't have to listen to it on YouTube, but just drop some comments on there. There's always people talking on there. It gets pretty lively on there sometimes. And thank you so much, old man Davis. Really appreciate you being back for the 100th episode. We missed you a lot, and you were actually requested from people. I don't want to boost your ego too much, but fans of the show were requesting you, and we did say there'd be a good chance you'd be here for the 100th episode. Thanks a lot.
Why do you keep on talking to me that I haven't been here? I've been here. You continually talk as if I've been absent. What part of this don't you understand? Why is it so difficult for you to comprehend this? Both you and your brother, Ray. Well, what's the matter with you two? You guys are talking like I haven't been here. I've been here. You're making me very nervous. You're making me more nervous than you are about the Warriors.
You're right. You've been here. How silly of us.
You have been here. You've never left. You absolutely never left.
You guys should get your head checked before the season's over. Before the season starts, you guys really better get your check checked. Yeah, get a little bit your head checked.
Hey, you gotta get your head checked. So concludes another edition, the 100th edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me. Oh wait, hold on. Wait, Raymond. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ray Solis or on Instagram at RaySolis1. That's where I'm at.
Awesome, and you can find me on Instagram at Rudy Solis 3, Rudy Solis number 3, and then on Twitter Rudy Solis 3rd, Rudy Solis 3RD. Old man Davis, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere. You lift the book, I'm under the book. You brush your teeth, look in the mirror, I'm in the mirror with you. You type my name in Wikipedia, Google Images. You stop by the Oakland Coliseum, I'm there. You light the torch for me. I'm there. I'm here on the GoldCast.
Absolutely.
Don't you
You're
fucking
here on the
forget.
GoldCast.
Jeez. All right. We will not.
We will not. So concludes another edition of the GoldCast, the 100th episode. I never get tired of saying that. And maybe for the 101st, the big changes we were promising, they might just be here. Hint, hint, hint. Spoiler alert. So concludes another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Salisa first, baby.
and our esteemed co-host,
Old Man Davis.
Boom! We'll see you next time. Same GoldCast time, same GoldCast channel.
This is the GoldCast.